Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. We have a tale of two reels here. They're Penn 45 GLS fishing reels. Both of those I took apart and serviced. One of them continues to have an issue that it came in with. And so we're going to show you a little bit of a way to try and identify what's wrong with the reel. Well, let's start by asking you to subscribe to my channel if you like fishing reel service and repair, if you like to learn how to do it, and if you like to learn some tricks along the way. And we'll call this one a trick along the way today, because I am fortunate that I have two of these Penn 45s and one of them is failing. So let's show you where we are. We're in full set, and you should have a nice easy turning reel to wind. Well, this one we're in full set, and well, you kind of need Popeye arms to move this along. It's struggling. So there's some tension going on in the reel, and we're not sure what it is. So the best thing to do is to try your hand at eliminating what's working and getting to the point where you decide or determine what is not working. It may be a broken part or something else, and we're going to try and do that. One of the first things I suspect is maybe that there's a piece that's out of position in the reel. So I want to get to the schematic, and as I'm taking the reels apart, I want to make sure that I match against the schematic to determine that they are indeed in the right position. The other thing I want to do then is figure out what's working and eliminate those. Well, I have two reels here. I don't want to confuse the next step, so I'm going to mark the reel that's working with a couple of things. Put a piece of tape, on the spool. So I've got the frame, got the spool, and one for the side plate. On a lever drag reel, there are really two sub-assemblies. There's a sub-assembly that is enclosed in the spool section. Well, that's not going to work there. In the spool section, and there's another one in the gear side. So we're not sure what's going on. So the first thing we do is we work big pieces to little pieces in process of elimination. Let's start with taking off the side plates and switching them, seeing if the one that's kind of hard to turn is hard to turn when we put it on this reel. To do that, we're going to take off the lever adjuster. You can leave the gear on at this point. And take your lever adjuster off, and I'm going to need two containers for this because I don't want to mix the parts from the one reel with the other. Next thing we'll do is we're going to take off the slide and the lever arm. I had to do this once a long time ago, so I thought maybe I would share it with you. A fellow brought in two Penn Internationals. He said he just had it serviced. One of them just wasn't working the way it should be working. Well, you can imagine that it was a head scratcher for me. And that's where I came up with this thing about, well, you know, if you have two of them, one's working, one's not, why don't you just swap pieces and parts until you figure it out. Alright, so that's the one side. We're going to take the 5 or 6 screws out. And this can turn into a very long video, so let's just pause it here. I'm going to remove the 5 screws on this side. And then we'll go over to the other side, do the same, and we'll come back when I have the side plate from the reel that is failing. I'll have that set aside and we'll reattach. Okay, I now have the side plate from the reel that's failing. I've removed that. I'm going to take it onto the reel that works well. I'm going to leave the pinion gear from the other reel on first. let's go ahead and reassemble that. Well, actually, let's bring that in. And this is why you mark the reels, because you can confuse them very easily. And again, we'll start, and I'll go back and I'll put all these screws in. We'll come back when this is reassembled, and we'll be able to test further. Okay, to catch us up, the handle side from the reel that's failing has just been installed onto the good reel, and right now it's not turning the way it should. Now, I don't know if that's pressure from the spool or not, so we're going to go ahead and install the slide, the tensioner, and the lever drag, and we'll see if it gets any better. I just, when I do this, I like to put one screw in here on the slide and hook the level line bar over, and then put the other two screws in. Well, if you have any questions on a reel, maybe you're working on one and you're stuck, if you leave that question in the comment section, I will try to answer those for you. And to the best I can, I'll try and get you to give your reel a second chance. All right, let's get that down here. The third one is in. I probably short stop some of this. I don't know if I need every screw in here for the test, but why double think? It doesn't take that much longer. It does video time wise, and I appreciate you kind of staying for the video despite its choppiness and all the other issues that may go on. Bring your free spool lever all the way down, and we need the washer and the adjuster, and this isn't on. Okay, so I've reassembled the reel. I put the tension washer on. We're in free spool. I should have a turning free spool. I do. And now as I go to replicate the issues, we're okay in the first one. As I go to max drag, well, we have that same issue again now. So that tells me that the issue is not in the spool side assembly. And that spool side assembly contains bearings, it contains a pressure plate, it contains the drag washers and other things. But this turning hard is telling me that the issue is in the gear side, not in the spool side. So we're going to remove both. We're going to take a look at what's going on in the gear sides to see if there's a difference there. It may be as simple as a missing washer. You never know. One of the problems with working in an iterative problem diagnosis is there's a lot of on and off kind of stuff. When we put this side plate on, we kept the pinion gear that was associated with this side plate in the assembly. Well, before we go to eliminate any additional issues with this side plate, we've got to check the pinion gear. So I'm going to take the pinion gear off of the good reel, put that into this assembly, put this back on, and yep, you guessed it, put the rest of it back on. Now, one of the things I did notice when I assembled this the first time was that this was pretty rough cranking even before we put the pieces back on for the lever drag adjuster. So I'm going to just put a couple of screws in here, take a test and see if it's still rough, but in order to fully test that, you want to put the assembly back completely. So we'll go to the magic of letting this stuff go again, and we'll be back. Before we went on to check the gear side out, we've changed out the pinion gear back to the good one, and here's what we got. We're in free spool, we free spool, first strike, okay, second strike, Nope, tight again. So we continue to eliminate. Yep, you guessed it. The side plate comes off now, and we start looking at the pieces and parts that are on the inside of the side plate assembly. Okay, as a side note, I just thought for fun I'd do a stripped down quick comparison. Bad reel, good side plate, then free spool, free spooling, first strike, easy enough to turn, second strike, still easy to turn. So now we know without a question that it's the side plate issue and it's not the frame or the spool issues. Okay, with the two gear plates removed, the natural inclination is to assume that it's in the lever drag operations, which would be behind the bearings here, not in the main gear. The main gears seem to be cranking fine when it was not under tension. So I'm going to remove the main gear assembly so we can get to that bearing side. Okay, well that took some time, but the first place I went, because the gears really aren't going to be that effective, was for the bearing. I pulled the bearing out of the bad side reel, and I'm noticing as I go to turn it, it's frozen. It's partially frozen, so it doesn't make a complete circle, allowing that inner ring to run. And well, the problem that we're having with that inner ring running is when you put pressure on there, I suspect that the bearing is just clamping down on it and causing that. For those of you that wondered how I got that out, a long time ago, one of our viewers sent me a pack of these bearing pullers. They're like a large tweezer with two semicircles. They go in and they hook behind the bearing. In this case, I got it to the side there. Then you have to wedge it, and something like this, you have to wedge it, and then you can pull out, and that'll release that bearing. So I think we got it. I think that the situation, given that this bearing is not working, or working optimally, is that that's the cause of our issue. Well, I've got to go find a replacement bearing for that, probably have to order one, but I truly believe that that's the issue. So what did we learn here? We learned that there's an iterative process to diagnosing a failure on a reel if you happen to have an identical reel that's performing well. That's exactly what we had here. We had a good reel, and well, just turn that bearing back there. Yeah, it turns free and easy. We had a good reel. We started with process of elimination. We wanted to find out, is it the spool side or is it the gear side? We swapped out the spool from the bad reel with the spool for the good reel, reassembled, found out that wasn't the issue. Just to confirm it, we took the bad side plate from the reel that was not functioning, put that on the good reel, same issue identified. So we narrowed it down to the gear side. The gears themselves just logically are not the issue because, well, it's just a hunk of metal and some teeth that has nothing to do with the adjustment on the throw of the lever. So we decided we would focus our attention on the side. There's one piece on the front side of this. That's a little key here for the free spool. Just want to make sure that there wasn't anything trapped behind there, so I cleaned all of that off. That left only the bearing side. And I pulled the bearing, and I think we got it. This bearing is seized, or at least that's not operating optimally. It gives you a swing, just a little bit of a swing, but you can't complete that swing. It's frozen. So that we're going to assume is the issue and the cause of this reel failure. We're going to go ahead and order that bearing, and well, we'll see how we do. So stay tuned for an update on that, but I hope that the process of elimination approach, along with a schematic that shows you how the reel is made to ensure that you're not missing any pieces and parts. And now that I have that schematic, I can actually go and do the parts ordering off of it. But it's not a quick process. I've been at this over an hour now, but I think we finally got it. I hope you've enjoyed that. Please stay tuned for the update. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. I'll be happy to answer those for you. To our first responders and essential personnel, thank you for all it is that you do to keep us safe. Your efforts truly are appreciated. To everyone, please enjoy the art of reel repair. From time to time, take a reel like this and learn something. And we learned a lot from what we did today. It was time well invested. And when you're learning it, know that you can apply that to other reels. As I mentioned, I had an international that I was working on quite some time ago, which was the first time I actually went through this side-by-side part swap to try and figure it out fully. To our first responders and essential personnel, thank you for all it is that you do. To everyone, please stay safe, stay well, and stay watching. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.